Hi, beautiful people. So, a lot of you know Nancie Guthrie has been kidnapped February 1st. So, it is, oh my goodness, like 10 days now. The date for the ransom has passed. So, I haven't talked about it yet. So, this is a sad case. This could be my grandmother. I'm praying for a good outcome. And I guess we'll just talk after. Okay. Chakra King Black, what's good with you? Gonna do a different kind of stream tonight. We're gonna talk about Nancie Guthrie, and then I will be back. And talk to you guys. All right, here we go.
Deadline for the Nancie Guthrie ransom just passed. The alleged kidnappers demanding $6 million by 7 Eastern. Just moments ago, Savannah Guthrie released this.
We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
This is the first time Savannah has spoken directly to the public. Previous videos were mainly aimed at the kidnappers. Many feared Nancie was no longer alive and that negotiations had taken a dark turn after Savannah put this video out on Saturday.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
This suggested to some that the Guthries were willing to pay for the return of their mother's body. But then, late Saturday night, unmarked police vehicles returned once again to Annie Guthrie's house. That's the sister and her husband, Tommaso. Law enforcement stayed for more than 2 hours. Cameras flashed inside the house, and reporters heard loud clanking noises as several items were carried out and loaded into police vehicles. At one point, an agent was seen carrying a silver briefcase, possibly a Celebrite device, typically used to analyze iPhones and computers. This would be the second time investigators brought the device to Annie Guthrie's house. Later, a deputy was seen loading a white case along with a brown bag into a police vehicle. Does this suggest authorities are scrutinizing the family? Does this mean they don't believe their side of the story? We have no idea. It could very well be routine, but with no suspects and the sheriff not ruling anybody out, it does raise a lot of questions. 10:30 at night seems very late to be conducting sudden searches of the sister's house. They must have gotten new information, or perhaps there was something so urgent they couldn't wait for the morning. We assume the Guthrie family's cooperating with authorities. We have no reason to believe they aren't. The next day, Sunday, investigators searched a septic tank behind Nancie's home, looking for possible evidence that may have been flushed. Fox News examined the area surrounding the property. Watch.
Wanted to give you a different point of view. So you've got Nancie's house, it's in the middle, and the lots are large enough for privacy. We walked to the front of the properties, and on one side, mailbox to mailbox, it's about 300 feet. On the other side, it's a little closer. But with both homes that flank her house, there are lines of vegetation, there's space and cactus. And from what we could gather, it appears the neighbors to the back may have the best vantage point to her home.
Authorities haven't even determined whether the ransom notes are legitimate. As far as we know, they could be real or they could be hoaxes. And so far, whoever's sending these messages hasn't provided proof of life. Authorities have said there's been no video or no pictures proving Nancie's still alive in anyone's captivity. Although these messages could contain written details that only Nancie and the family would know that prove someone has her. Also new tonight, the FBI is saying it's not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and suspected kidnappers, nor have we identified a suspect or person of interest in this case at this time. There's also a new question about the note itself, which specified that the payment be made in U.S. dollars, suggesting the senders could be outside the country or foreign actors, or the messages could just be written by AI. The sheriff's department, after doing a ton of media, suddenly doesn't have anything to say. The Nancie Guthrie investigation is ongoing. Follow-up continues at multiple locations. No suspects, persons of interest, or vehicles have been identified. No scheduled press briefings. If any significant developments occur in this case, a press conference will be called. So no time for a briefing, but the sheriff did have time for a basketball game. Here he is at the University of Arizona Wildcats game on Saturday, just minutes before Savannah released the video saying she'd pay. So Savannah paid the ransom? We don't know. The deadline just passed, and authorities are expected to continue activity at the Guthrie homes tonight and into tomorrow. Earlier, TMZ reported that the Bitcoin account that the alleged kidnappers were using still appeared empty. Do you pay ransom without proof of life, or do you just roll the dice? These are the heart-wrenching decisions that have to be made.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube?
Right now, what will happen to Nancie Guthrie at 5 p.m. Arizona local time today? The ominous second deadline is hours away. It's one of the most high-profile missing persons cases in decades. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus, day 9. And some sudden return to the scene activity, the home where the missing mom of NBC host Savannah Guthrie's mom was at last for dinner before she vanished, also a place they went back to and are going back to, and a whole lot of other action and movement to get you brought in on. Savannah and her siblings are making their third cryptic plea to whomever is holding their mom.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
And of course, we know that there has also been a video from the brother who you saw on her right-hand side, Cameron. And as that video was released, new scrutiny over the investigation itself after the sheriff leading the case, the Pima County Sheriff. This is one of the biggest cases ever in the state of Arizona. He's in charge, spotted courtside at University of Arizona basketball game. Now, they are #1 in the country, which would tell you you definitely could have watched this on TV. It's raising some fresh questions about focus and urgency. Sheriff Nanos now acknowledging some missteps on his own in securing Nancie Guthrie's home. As Fox Digital reports, staffing shortages delayed the launch of high-tech search aircraft for the hours after 84-year-old Nancie Guthrie was first reported missing. In moments, we'll hear from former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. We'll dig in deep with Stuart. First, though, senior correspondent Alicia Acuna reports live from Tucson. Alicia.
Hi, Harris. No confirmation yet on whether the family has paid that reported $6 million. And we don't know yet if that video that the Guthries released over the weekend prompted any movement by her captors. Right now, we want to give you a bird's eye view of the situation here on the ground from our Fox flight crew. You can see 2 sheriff's vehicles parked outside the home. This began on Sunday. The department issuing a statement saying their constant presence now is at the request of the Guthrie family. There's this septic tank that was searched this weekend as well. On Sunday afternoon, investigators used a long pole to probe inside. They were focused here for about an hour in the back of Nancie's property. On Saturday night, law enforcement returned to re-walk the terrain around the house using their flashlights in the pitch black dark of night. Then later that night, our Fox Digital team was at Annie Guthrie's house. When sheriff deputies went inside, flashes of light could be seen like coming from a camera. They were coming from the garage and also from another room. The FBI is analyzing a trove of data from not only Nancie Guthrie's home, but her neighbors. This is a photo of one of the cameras removed from the outside of Nancie's house. Even if a camera like this doesn't record someone on the property, the FBI can grab what's known as unseen data.
For example, you have a lot of neighbors saying, oh, my Ring camera never registered anything. Doesn't mean that technology has not logged the ability to see it, but didn't think it was big enough to ping that app we may use. So there still could be data there. Cameras facing the Guthrie house right now show very little activity, but I promise you there's an enormous amount of activity going on the digital side.
And Harris here on day 9, still no suspects officially or persons of interest. Back to you.
Alicia, thank you. Breaking moments ago, TMZ was reporting that the Bitcoin account allegedly set up to accept the funds, the money, in exchange for Nancie Guthrie remains empty at this hour. An apparent ransom deadline of 5 p.m. Arizona time is fast approaching. So yeah, now we're 4.5 hours away. You and I were talking off camera, and I know you can't share every detail, but when it comes to even an IP address to figure out the ransom note and maybe what's coming next in this whole thing after that 5 p.m. deadline, you can get to that. You can't tell us every detail, but what can you share?
Right. So there's different elements that we're looking at right now. You're looking at the ransom emails, right? That's in and of itself its own topic.
Let's start there.
The masked IP addresses. People think, I'm going to send an email. It's going to be masked. No one's ever going to track me down. False. The FBI has the ability to unmask IP addresses. I know because I've done it, and I've seen it happen in large cases that have gone to court and been federally upheld. And so it is absolutely possible. But what it requires is digging through certain layers of information. That does take time, but it is possible.
Do you think 9 days are enough time?
That's a good question. Like I said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. And so law enforcement is not going to show their hand right now. They're not going to show everything that they're capable of doing. Certainly not the FBI, because that's what they do. They keep it quiet and confidential to maintain the integrity of the investigation. But I think you've got the ransom email. Again, we've all been talking about it. It's either legitimate, they're a hoax, or they're a false flag and a distraction. And we're about to find out. Those ransom emails may have absolutely nothing to do with Nancie and her whereabouts. But on the flip side, they may. And that's, again, what the family's working with the FBI to determine what's the legitimacy of this. Now, when we look at the masking of the IP addresses, that's one way to mask their identity. The other way that everyone's talking about is Bitcoin. Back in the day, it was, hey, we'll give you cash. Hey, we'll send it here. Not anymore. Bitcoin is highly sophisticated for individuals, and it is something that we knew that in the FBI, we were getting trained on their techniques, and they use it for a purpose. But every single transaction is recorded and documented on the blockchain, and that is visible. You can see that. But what you may not be able to see initially is a non-traceable wallet. But again, with certain investigative techniques and things that the FBI can do, they can get to the bottom of that. But the key is, if you ever want to cash in that money, so let's say you get $6 million, what good is that if you can't actually utilize that? In order to cash that in with a U.S. institution, you're going to have to provide a name, a social security number, identifiers in order to use that. You could let it sit in the wallet indefinitely, but what good is that? Or, again, I'm not going to go into any ideas. There's other things that, again, the FBI, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you better. So, Paul, the end-to-end transaction, if you will, the beginning of it with the money in the account hasn't happened. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I think it means that there is no level of trust there from the Guthrie family because they have not gotten any proof of life. And I think that there's got to be still some real question as to whether or not the 2 notes are coming from the people who actually have their mother, because proof of life, is comparatively simple. You can come up with something that's very unique, very idiosyncratic from, let's say, Savannah's childhood or something like that, even if you don't want to put the mother on camera or something like that. But you could do that too.
Why couldn't you put the mother on camera?
You could. They may be worried about the comms. Is it traceable? Is the metadata going to show something that the FBI can pull out? And the good news here is that you got the FBI who are the best at this. So that's one of the
AI.
At this AI stuff, at tracing AI, because you can use AI against AI, tracing the Bitcoin, all that stuff, that goes on. Think of it as a pocketbook that everybody can see. The problem for them is that when you go to it, you can't buy, groceries with Bitcoin yet anyway. So when they go to take it out, that's, as I was talking about earlier, that's the vulnerability. And that's the thing that you are hoping you can see at some point. But as I said earlier, if it happens someplace that you can't get to, North Korea or something, then, you're sunk.
Donna?
I mean, do we have to think, and Nicole, you may be able to answer this, do we have to think that the letters that they have, these 2 letters, that the FBI must think that there's some validity to them? Because as we've seen, there's already been arrests for people who have sent fake notes. So, there must be some level there where they feel like there's some validity here, or otherwise, wouldn't they have made arrests already? Like, if they can figure out that some are fake, why do we not know a little bit more about these at this point?
Right. So again, without going into the details of what's happening behind the scenes, they're not going to close the door on any potential piece of evidence. Let's say that they think something is or is not legitimate. The FBI, their key is open communication. They want as many data points of evidence digitally in whatever format. So let's say every time they post on Instagram, and then there's a response, and then there's an email. Every single thing is a digital trail of potential evidence. And so a lot of times you may think, oh, they're going to solve the case off of this particular point, when in reality, what the FBI is doing is they're taking all the digital artifacts and they're piecing it together in a timeline. And they're looking, okay, how can we continue to keep the lines of communication open? Again, they may have information that this is not accurate. Maybe the Guthries don't intend to pay this. We don't exactly know what's happening, but I promise you the key is communication. And what the Guthries want is they want immediacy. What the offenders want is they have been looking for time. And what Savannah did in that video, they basically are pushing their hand and they're saying, let's go. You are no longer in control. You have run out of time and we are willing to pay. So put up or shut up.
So this is about engagement with whomever may have her. But it's interesting too, Emily, if it turns out that nothing happens at 5 p.m., they don't pay the money, they don't have any more engagement, then perhaps what you have is a situation where that wasn't real. Now they can focus on something else.
Yeah, essentially ruling out.
Yeah.
But wait, I just want to sort of clarify what you said, because I want to make sure I understand. I thought the urgency is for both parties, for all parties, because of course the families want their mother back, of course, but also the alleged captors want their money. So aren't they the ones that were demanding this soon time frame? And then when you said U.S. institutions earlier, but what if, to Paul's point, the receiving institution is out of this country, then it seems, what then in terms of capturing and identifying?
That's a great question, because if it's outside of the country, then do you really think that they have Nancie's mother? Or do they really have Nancie Guthrie? So then it leads to, okay, that's probably
you just put it out of the, like for the Cayman Islands, right? Like something like that, like a shielded account.
Right, but to ever bring it into the U.S. to be utilized in the United States, an institution of $6 million transaction, they're going to...
There's a middle, they call it an exchange, and there's a middleman that does it, and there's a lot of scrutiny on those.
Yes.
So as a result, you got to do it someplace else. And let's remember, the arrest they made, that was a knucklehead attempt. Like, your average high schooler could have broken that.
All right, everybody, we have breaking news. We have just received a brand new video from Savannah Guthrie, as we are a little over an hour away from one of the deadlines in the letter for this ransom payment. We're getting it ready. We are about to play it for you in just a moment, but I can tell you that in it, she says, we need your help. And we're going to play this for you as soon as we get it turned around. Just stick with us here. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt on the ground in Tucson as we wait to show that to you in just a moment. Jonathan?
And interestingly, Martha, this new message is not addressed to the kidnapper or kidnappers. It is addressed to the general public. In it, Savannah Guthrie thanks everybody for their prayers. She says, we are in an hour of desperation. She said that we the Guthrie siblings believe our mother is still out there. She hears your prayers, Savannah says, and she says, we all need your help. She is out there somewhere, but it certainly sounds from the tone of that message, which our viewers will hear shortly, Martha, that the investigation is at something of a dead end at this point, because Savannah Guthrie's tone in this is absolutely desperate, saying that law enforcement are working as hard as they can, but they need the public's help. And she appeals to anybody, anywhere, well outside of Tucson, well outside of Arizona. If you see something that you think might be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please contact law enforcement. So this, I think it is fair to characterize as a message of utter desperation. Once again, a gut-wrenching thing to listen to, as all of Savannah Guthrie's videos have been, Martha.
Jonathan, you know, so quick question here, and you make a number of good points. She's just addressing people generally, and we're going to play it in just a second. But there's no mention in this video, like the last one, Jonathan, we will pay, we understand. So what might this signal? I mean, I know you don't know the answer to this. We're just, you know, sort of thinking it through about this pending ransom time, and whether or not perhaps they do not put credence in that anymore, potentially.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fair question, Martha. This is a very different message. The ones we've seen so far, 3 videos from the family, they have all been a direct message to the kidnapper. This now is moving beyond that. This is a message to the public saying, we need your help. It almost feels, and we're all speculating here, Martha, of course, we're all trying to read a tone, but it almost feels like they feel as though this has taken a step backwards rather than forward.
Jonathan,
so
we have the video.
You're absolutely accurate in picking up on that tone.
Thank you so much, Jonathan Hunt. Let's play this video. Stick around for a second. Let's watch this.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Joining us, it's day 9. Search for Nancie Guthrie. Just in the last hour, Savannah Guthrie posted a brand new video to Instagram. Here is that video.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation.
Joining me now is retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Rob Chadwick and former hostage negotiator Dan O'Shea. Thank you both for being with us here today. Dan, you hear that? What do you hear from Savannah Guthrie?
She's desperate. I mean, we're hours away from this deadline that's been bearing down for the last now 9 days, and it's all coming to a head right now. And so she's feeling the pressure of that, and she's making a direct plea. This is not something she's reading off a prescribed list. This is coming from her heart, and it's hard to watch, and that's why the whole nation is spellbound right now about this abduction right now of her mother.
Rob, the fact that she's by herself, looking directly into her camera, she's off script, she's not sitting with her two siblings. People have pointed out the previous two videos looked highly choreographed. She was saying phrases, looking down at times to read them. And yet this one, totally different. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me, I mean, first of all, Savannah Guthrie obviously is a seasoned professional. She's handled this incredibly well. The grace that she's handled this, the pressure is unimaginable, especially knowing that your mother is somewhere potentially out there and missing. And so it doesn't surprise me that, she's sort of taken a lead here, almost a champion for the family. But yeah, to your point, it's a heartbreaking video to watch. It is great to see there might be a little bit of hope still there, but things are not looking good.
Rob, I want to follow up with you. If you were from the seat that you sit in today, supervisory special agent in the past, so from the seat that you sit in today and what you've seen, the search in the septic tank, down the manhole cover, the revisiting the crime scenes, towing away cars, surely somewhere out there is video. Gosh, I can't imagine, even with the removal of the videos at her house, there are neighbors and so forth. What is the one piece of evidence that you would be focused on, Rob?
Well, the one piece of evidence I keep coming back to, well, there's two. One, the blood, Mrs. Guthrie's blood at the entryway going out, right? That patterned heading out of the residence. And the time frame, Mr. Clemente earlier talked about 41 minutes or so. Someone was inside that residence, we believe, based on the digital evidence of the pacemaker disconnecting from the phone. This just doesn't come across as a planned kidnapping, right? I believe, if again, putting on my hat and speculating only based on the evidence available right now, it's a crime gone wrong. It wasn't planned, and I believe that these ransom notes, as unorganized and unprofessional as they seem to come across right now, are simply red herrings designed to throw investigators off the track. I believe that is a sad truth, and I hope I'm wrong.
That's an interesting conclusion and certainly flies in the face of what I have, from my very non-expert seat on these types of crimes, speculated today. A crime gone wrong, not professionally organized, is your speculation, Rob. It's just a little shocking that we sit here 9 days later and something so sloppy and haphazard then could be pulled off for that long. I guess maybe I've watched too much crime drama, or maybe I'm too used to crimes getting solved very quickly, but it's just shocking to think that something that could be pulled off haphazardly could be gotten away with even for 9 days. Talk to me about the notes, though, Dan. I mean, you're a hostage negotiator. We're looking at purportedly 2 notes sent to different media organizations. We haven't got to see the exact what's been said in these things, but it's sort of A to C communication, cutting out B. It's not direct communication with law enforcement or the Guthries. Man, I have to imagine that's an impossibility as a negotiator, or to read into who they are, the perpetrators.
Well, I dealt with hundreds of video demands that were coming in from, kidnappings in Iraq, where that Al Qaeda terrorists would be standing with a gun pointed to the head of the hostage with their demands. They'd make a public demand, but then it was behind the scenes, the demands that were being made directly to the company or the country where that individual is from. And I don't know have access to those notes. But again, I agree with my counterpart here, and I've been saying this for quite a number of time, that this doesn't add up. This is not a traditional kidnap for ransom. They have not, 41 minutes in the house, which flies in the face of, if you're going to kidnap someone, you want to get in and out as quickly as possible. The evidence left at the scene, the blood trail, and the fact that they're not negotiating with the family. There's never been any good faith between the kidnappers and the demands to the family. And I think, like he said, it's a red herring. I think that the goal of this was not money. I think this group was about the media attention. They have got the entire world's focus on this story right now, and the ransom demands with the deadlines have driven that media focus. This is my 8th interview, I think, today, and I have 3 more tonight, lining up the interviews tomorrow. I'm talking to Australian, just got off with Australia, Canadian TV, and then all the other networks.
But
and
Dan, to what effect?
That's what they want. I think that's what these guys wanted. And they're creating this combobulation. They're making it that much harder for the investigators to go in and do this. They went back in. They've got the best, forensics experts in the planet. The FBI now went back out to the scene after that second note. There is something in that second note that led them to go back to the house, go back to, the relative's house, the sister-in-law or sister's house. But I think that this media circus is distracting, and it's making it even harder for them to pinpoint who is responsible. And I don't necessarily believe the group sending the note are directly connected. They might have a relationship with, but I'm fearful that this might have been, as been alluded to, that this might have been a home invasion that went horribly wrong, and now they're trying to cover their tracks. And what better way than draw all the media attention in the world? Tweets from the president, FBI director showing up in Tucson today. This has been this may be what they're driving at.
I'm not questioning your conclusions, but trying to make sense of them myself as I'm hearing them. Okay, not doing it for the money, not a real demand for ransom, doing it to create more media attention, using media as a distraction, not, if I'm understanding you correctly, not for fame, not for attention. Of course, we don't know who they are. You could argue they're back end fame or back end attention once they're caught. But that's not what I hear you saying. I hear you saying using it as a distraction from what? The initial crime we've yet to uncover, which may be what? A murder?
Correct. Yes.
So the initial crime, and I know we're speculating, Dan, and I know that you are as well, but what you're suggesting is, if I'm adding it up all together correctly here, haphazard crime, not professional. Could be somebody that knew her well, could be somebody that knew the house well, goes wrong, ends up in a homicide, and everything after that is simply distraction and circus designed to get in the way of uncovering or solving the initial murder?
Well, and finding those responsible. The noose around them, it may be tightening. Again, we're not getting a lot on the ground. It doesn't seem that the initial response by the local sheriff was to the best level of capability. Now the FBI has been involved, but you've got every asset under the sun. But unless they're not sharing intelligence, because that's typically how this works. My counterpart can certainly answer that better than I. But I believe that this media focus and the media circus around this 5 o'clock deadline it's driving the distraction to this topic, and it may be ultimately what they're looking for in the first place. But again, got to go after the motives. Who would have a reason to go after Samantha Guthrie? Has she done interviews that have caused issues? There's another story they're trying to get off the news right now. But
you think this ties back to Savannah, Dan? Meaning that some way to influence a national news host on the Today Show.
Well, they could have. There's a lot of wealthy people they could have targeted. Why would they? They chose, I believe, unless it was again potentially a random crime that just so happened to go pear-shaped, but they didn't steal anything off the target, which tells me maybe it wasn't home. But if it went poorly, and again that amount of blood was pretty significant, and I only saw what was on the doorstep. So I have to go to the worst case scenario because of my experience with the kidnappers I dealt with.
Right.
So I always go with the presumption that the worst case scenario is going to happen, but it is all speculation.
Rob, I saw you at times nodding your head along while Dan was speaking. It's a little counterintuitive to me. I'm just being honest about my initial thoughts in that I would think attention is, at the very least, you're trying to thread a tight needle as a criminal, saying, I want just the right amount of attention to distract. I don't want so much attention that the whole nation's law enforcement resources are dedicated to finding me. That's a tough needle to thread. So this distraction matrix thing, I get it, Dan, I get it, but that's a pretty sophisticated plan after a pretty sloppy initial crime, one with a low Again, I don't think you're wrong, Dan. I don't know. I'm just trying to do the calculation. But I did see you nodding along, Rob.
Well, again, but why would you send the initial answer? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Not at all. I just want to be very clear. I'm praying that I'm wrong. I'm simply suggesting that the facts of what I see available to us right now are more in line with a potential crime gone wrong. It could have been targeted, could have been random. We don't know. But what we don't see are a traditional kidnapping or designed kidnapping for ransom, then develop, a note arrives through TMZ or through another media station. There's clearly a strong desire to involve as much media as possible here, and it's worked very well. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but the fact pattern is much more in line with a potential crime or unplanned crime that went wrong inside the house, and then maybe it could be someone who's not involved at all with that original crime that has now involved the media in this what has become a worldwide phenomenon, unfortunately. So we'll see. Again, I hope I'm wrong. It's just that if someone were truly invested in trying to recover money for this case, they're going about it in a very, very different way. Now, my hope is, of course, that the FBI and the sheriff's office are playing an entirely different game behind the scenes, and that may very well be. Let's hope that's the case.
Right. Okay. Fascinating discussion, and opens my mind up to much more of a world of possibilities. Thank you both, Rob and Dan, for joining us. Is criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter, who is outside the Pima County Sheriff's Office. So, Josh, let's start with the latest piece of evidence or the latest chapter in this story. And that's the latest video from Savannah Guthrie posted within the last 20 minutes. What do you see in this video? What's new? What do you learn from the latest from Savannah?
Well, the first thing that strikes you is this is the first communication from Savannah or the Guthrie family directly to the public and not to the kidnappers. So she's taking this opportunity to plead to the public and not trying to communicate to the kidnappers. And then the other thing that stands out is her own words saying this is an hour of desperation. I think we're safe to read into this that they believe that they need help from the public because they have not sourced out any leads that have led to anywhere, and perhaps the communication from the kidnappers has cut off, or perhaps they don't feel that the kidnappers' notes are legitimate, or perhaps they feel that the further communication with the kidnappers is really not helping them. A lot of questions, like you said, still many unanswered, but this is certainly remarkable to me in that they are saying, essentially, we need your help because we're not getting it from the kidnappers in the cooperative way that we initially thought we might.
And in fact, Josh, she describes it literally as her hour of desperation. A lot of talk and a lot of focus there on the fact that she's now speaking directly to the public and not to the kidnappers. But there are also some different things in this video as opposed to just who she is talking to. There's a little bit here reading between the lines of who she's talking about as well. I would have to think in some way this is an indictment of local law enforcement, or at the very least, disappointment or a lack of faith in their ability to handle this investigation if you're turning directly to the public for aid. And I don't know what this means, Josh, but I do think we have to point out this is the first video of just Savannah Guthrie and not her other two siblings.
That's very true. And it's also the first video that does not seem as heavily scripted as the prior two videos. Especially the one that we received over the weekend, the messaging in that seemed to be incredibly carefully curated, whereas this is her speaking from the heart. And you're right, she's not alone. It's just by herself. She's speaking directly to the public. As far as your note about is there a criticism of law enforcement in here, she does highlight that she feels that they're working tirelessly, but she's also highlighting that it seems as though they've come up with nothing. They've got no suspects, they've got no leads. And if you're at this point turning to the public and saying, share with us anything, no matter how small, no matter how far away you are from Tucson, we need anything, that is certainly a desperate hour.
And Josh, you point out that the previous videos were highly scripted. That would also suggest that there is some law enforcement coordination, some sense of choreography to how you play to kidnappers, how you play to those demanding a ransom. There has been this lingering question, is this one crime or two separate crimes? Or better said, is this one perpetrator or two separate perpetrators? Is the ransom demand definitely connected to the kidnapping? And all of a sudden now Savannah Guthrie seems a little less choreographed, a little less scripted. I'm not sure what that tells us, but it's as though someone else is not standing over her shoulder telling her the right way to play this. Now it's simply, as you point out, Savannah going directly and authentically to the public.
You're absolutely right. I think the other thing that conclusion we can draw from this is that she doesn't seem as concerned with how the kidnappers, her captors, might be responding to this. In other words, the other messaging, she was very acknowledging what they were asking for, trying to be cooperative. Now she's not even addressing them and doesn't seem to care if they see this or not because they're turning to the public for help.
That's right. All right. Great analysis, as always, as you've been throughout this entirety of this case. Josh Orwetta, thank you.
Fox News alert, Savannah Guthrie posting a new video about the search for her mother just moments ago, about Nancie Guthrie, with the deadline for the second ransom note set to expire in just 2 hours from now. Watch this.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
All right, let's go right to Jonathan Hunt with the latest. Jonathan.
Emily, clearly very, very difficult to watch and listen to that latest desperate video message from Savannah Guthrie. A couple of things struck me in particular in there is the tone she was using. We believe our mother is still out there. We believe our mother is still hearing the prayers coming from around the country and around the world. Now, that is a contrast to the last video message we heard from the Guthrie children. That was a direct message to the kidnappers on Saturday night. And the tone of that, a lot of people interpreted as looking at more of a worst case scenario. Here, very clearly, Savannah Guthrie is saying, we believe, we hope, we have faith that our mother is still out there. And obviously the inference of that is that she will come back to her children at some point. Another point that you have to look at here, in the video message to the kidnapper on Saturday night, Savannah Guthrie concluded that by saying, "We will pay." Now, you would assume that if they believe that their mother is out there, is alive, they would have followed up with that promise very quickly and made that payment. Now, we also know from Harvey Levin at TMZ, who received the first ransom note, that the kidnapper or kidnappers promised that upon payment, Nancie Guthrie would be returned to Tucson within a certain time frame. Now, can you look at this new message and believe that they made that payment and then heard nothing? That is one possible scenario. Obviously, with a complete absence of commentary from the sheriff's office and information from the sheriff's office behind us here, which is their right, of course, in this investigation, we are all clutching at straws. We're all trying to read tone and read the tea leaves. But clearly, this was a very desperate message to the wider public from Savannah Guthrie for help in finding her mother. And it does, you have to read it to some extent, at least, Emily, as saying that Savannah Guthrie is losing faith while she's paying tribute to the work of the investigators and law enforcement who are clearly working around the clock. She's perhaps losing faith in any progress in this investigation, despite the work we've seen from them, despite the continual searches over the weekend at Nancie Guthrie's house, at Annie Guthrie's house, the collection of evidence. It would appear that Savannah Guthrie is beginning to believe that this investigation is hitting something of a brick wall, Emily.
Jonathan, thank you. All right, we'll bring it back to the table for discussion. Greg, your thoughts? You have a lot to say.
Well, you know, I am very experienced in crime, having watched a lot of Dateline and a lot of Forensic Files and Columbo. I'm also aware that our viewers miss the fun of the five, you know, and this is a serious topic. So I've decided to solve the case today.
Yes.
Or tell you how to solve it. Have they given anyone polygraphs? I don't believe they have. I think Savannah Guthrie might want to volunteer to do a poly and say, I just don't want people to speculate that I might be involved. And then what does that do? It puts everyone else in her circle obligated to do a poly. They might have declined to do it before, but you know, if you actually say I'm willing to do it and everybody else decides to do it, great. You know, they're inadmissible in court without an agreement. They're voluntary, but it helps you rule people in and rule people out. So if you decline after the daughter publicly says she's going to do one, that looks different to me. And then you can move beyond the family if that, so be it. But I do think the ransom piece is a ruse because the start and the finish of it don't make any sense. If you really want to get the money, you don't go to TMZ. You don't go to Harvey Levin. You go to the wealthy family who does it behind the scenes, and you may never hear about it. Also, the ending, where do you pay? How do you pay once you make this whole process voluntary? Doesn't make sense. So I think all this is a red herring. And lastly, I would look at the financial piece of this, and I don't mean the ransom. I mean, you know, who needed money and who didn't get money.
Yeah, and I think in part, Dana, Greg is hitting on the part of the helplessness that the family feels, which is in this duration of waiting. How can we help? You know, and many times it's like, just sit by the phone and wait for a call. But to his point about offering a polygraph, the whole point is, what can I do to help the investigation along, to show support in what way? And especially in such a high profile case where the public is watching every move and not only making their own decisions, but also asking too, how can we help? Which, as Savannah just so heartbreakingly said, if you see something, say something.
Right. And when that last video that came out just about an hour ago, it showed the desperation. It's in that final hour. And I don't know if there's anything to read into her doing this video alone. The other videos were with the siblings. Maybe she just felt like she wanted to do this herself to let people know that, you know, let's keep this story alive. Okay, that's another thing that Callahan Walsh said this morning on America's Newsroom, that one of the things that happens is people are like, well, we don't have any information here. We want to keep her in the news. We want to see if we can get somewhere. But at some point, there are in missing persons cases, like it might fall off the front page, or at least below the fold. So that's also another thing that maybe they are trying to do. I think all of us feel for them deeply. It's not like they don't have a lot of resources all being put towards this. Some things feel very strange, like the Bitcoin ransom, but maybe not the Bitcoin ransom, but actually will take dollars. And we also interviewed somebody today that does like private kidnap situations where you never see it in the press. And those, sometimes the family does say, okay, we will pay, and you never hear about it. This is so different. And I pray there's a great outcome here. On Saturday, when she said, bring her home so we can celebrate with her, I parsed that language. I don't know anything. I'm not Columbo. What am I doing? But that language seemed significant to me. And maybe when this is solved, and hopefully solved in a good way, we can find out what all of that meant.
Yeah, because at the time, I was thinking, yes, how it could be meant in certain ways. And then we had an analyst on our air that said it could be sort of signaling, we will not seek revenge. It will only be a joyful return, and therefore we will not come after you, captors, allegedly. I mean, there's so much that you can speculate, Jesse, because we don't know very much. What do you make, though, of the sheriff's department saying this will be our last press conference until we have a reason to update you? And since then, they have been, as Jonathan Hunt put it, radio silent.
Well, I don't totally trust the sheriff's department because they either don't know anything or they're pretending to not know anything. It does feel like they're not being completely honest and upfront with what they know. And maybe that's strategic, but it makes people question a lot of things, especially their competence, or question other things like who else was involved. But I agree with Dana. Something changed between Saturday and today. You just look at the language. You received your message and we understand. What does understand mean? We beg you to return, Mom, so we can celebrate. Interesting language again. She's very valuable to us. I don't know if the FBI negotiators are telling them to use this language. I don't know if this is language that has been elicited from some of these alleged kidnapping letters. I don't know. But it seems coded. And then you fast forward until Monday. Before she was talking to the kidnappers, and now she's just talking to the entire country. And she's saying she was taken. You have no idea where. We have no leads. And this is this big hour of desperation, but there is still hope. And it makes you think, are they getting and responding to different messages? Are some of the messages real? Are some of them hoaxes? They don't know what's real or not. And so you also wonder, are they being psychologically tortured? Is this maybe not about the money? Does someone have it in for the Guthrie family or Savannah Guthrie? Because the way this whole thing has gone down, it's so not the traditional way you deal with the kidnapping. You get proof of life, you get the money, and it's over. None of that has gone to that pattern. And so then they do a sister search. This is like what? The third search of the sister's house at a very strange time. They do it at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. I mean, it's dark. I mean, why would you do that then? And they're taking photographs inside the garage. They're bringing this device again. They call it the Celebite, where you extract data from iPhones and computers. Wasn't that done already? Why are they bringing these devices again? And now they're searching the septic system. Was something flushed? Is there something in there? None of this makes any sense. And I think we should have some answers, in about 2 hours when this deadline comes out.
Harold, with our deepest appreciation and sensitivity to your personal relationship with the family, what do you make of, as Jesse's saying, the sort of use and not of social media and outreach? You know, when you sort of see these situations and think about, I would be screaming from the nearest social media just all day, every day, where's my mom? Where's my mom? And it seems clearly that there's guidance occurring that they're following in the interest of preserving the caliber and the credibility of perhaps their negotiations. I mean, none of us know anything, but what do you make of that? We've only heard from them really these couple times.
I don't know much more. And I have to tell you, I'm just going to heed her advice to stay in prayer about it. For those who, what I heard also, I think, Jesse, everybody's touched on it, whomever is responsible for this heinous act or heinous acts, might not be in the Tucson area, may be in other cities and places that around the country, for that matter, even outside of the country. I have the same questions that many around the table have. I think there are many, many unknowns. Do we have proof of life? Do we know this dollar amount? Are we to trust that dollar amount being what it is? Will they send the money? I think these are questions on everyone's minds. But I take her at her word, and she seemed, her hope and her spirit and her mood is what I think is sustaining a lot of us as we pray for them, as we hope for them. And I can only say to her and her family, her husband and her siblings, to stay as strong as you can over the next few hours and perhaps the next few days as we seemingly come to some sort of a point where, or at least some sort of definitive point that might have been set in one of the notes. But I watched all weekend, Jesse, like you did, the searches in all these different places. And I imagine the FBI is now in charge of the investigation, which may explain why they're going back over some of the things that the locals may have done. But again, there's so many unknowns here. And the only thing I can do is just try to heed everything that Savannah said here in this last video, which I know we all will do.
Yeah, they are indeed covered in prayer. All right, we're going to bring in Joshua Ritter now in Tucson. Josh is a former federal prosecutor and present criminal defense attorney. Josh, what are you hearing down there with your boots on ground?
We're not hearing much, and that's the unfortunate part about it. It is creating an atmosphere of anticipation. We're now less than 2 hours away from when this deadline is supposed to take place. And also, I'll echo the words of Savannah, that there's a feeling of desperation. People want to get answers, and it doesn't seem like we're getting anything. We're certainly not getting any answer from law enforcement. And now it sounds like we're not even getting any further communications from the kidnappers, to the point that Savannah felt that she had to make this statement. And a couple of things stand out to me about this statement we've already touched on. But first of all, that it is public. It's the first time she's addressing the public and not speaking to the kidnappers. And two, that her language before now has been very carefully curated, to the point that she was holding paper in front of her and reading from that. Here she's speaking from the heart, and it does not appear to be scripted at all. But then I think too about the subcontext here is that this, to me, is a statement where she is not as concerned with the reaction from the kidnappers, but she is just desperate to get help and not as bothered by how will they react to this. Just some takeaways.
I'll ask it.
Yeah.
Josh, hi, it's Dana Perino. And I'm wondering what, if anything, you can tell us about the strangeness of the ransom. So the fact that it went to TMZ first, or the media first, rather than to the family. That it was asked, they were asking for Bitcoin, and then they backed off of that. Now apparently it's another amount of Bitcoin, but it seems erratic. And obviously none of us are experts. And I know that you're involved in law, but you're not necessarily an investigator. So all of us are trying to help. Prayer is one thing, but trying to help figure out what this could possibly mean when the ransom feels so strange and elusive.
No, it's certainly not typical, if there is such a thing as a typical kidnapping, but you certainly don't see situations where kidnappers are trying to draw attention to the situation. They're trying to draw attention to the investigation, as you would think would be the point in sending one of those notes to TMZ. So again, none of this seems to be following any kind of playbook. And I think it's also important to remember how incredibly rare it is to have a kidnapping of a high-profile individual. Kidnappings do take place, and they usually take place of high net worth individuals who don't have a high profile because of that purpose. You don't want to draw attention. Well, here they've kidnapped a person in relation to a high-profile person, and they've drawn attention to it. So again, not making much sense.
Mr. Ritter, can I ask you a question? This is Harold Ford. My pal, Greg Gutfeld, raised something at the start here about when the sheriff early on said they had not ruled out anyone in this matter. And Greg mentioned at the start that maybe they should do polygraph tests. Do you know if had there been any tests like that done, or any questions like that asked of a family in light of some of the things we're seeing with regard to developments over the weekend with additional searches?
We have not heard anything about polygraph specifically, but we do know that all members of the family have been interviewed in at least more than once, and that they have gone out to the sister's house, Annie Guthrie's home, more than once to conduct different types of searches. And I'll say too, it is true that law enforcement will say no one is ruled out at this point. It's too early, and they're going to look at everyone to try to see if they cannot rule them out through the course of their investigation. And if they're doing that, then I imagine that they're watching everyone closely, including their digital devices. Who are they communicating with? So that could have been taking place as early as last Sunday. And still, we're at a point where they're saying they have no suspects or even persons of interest.
Josh, can I ask for you to describe the tenor? You've covered so many investigations and cases like this, and obviously each one is unique. Some are homicides, and now this is obviously a kidnapping and alleged ransom. But what are you feeling there? What are you seeing? Is there a lot of communication between law enforcement? Are sources plentiful? If you could sort of describe your experience as it's developing there.
It's a chilling silence, and that is, I think, what's making everyone most concerned. It was encouraging over the weekend when there was kind of this flurry of activity, when you had law enforcement returning to Nancie's home and they were gathering more evidence. We even saw them as early as yesterday lifting manhole covers and trying to search there. And at least you see activity. When you see no activity and you're simply waiting, and now we're waiting, like I said, with less than 2 hours until this deadline, and we're hearing nothing and seeing no further activity from law enforcement, it's making everyone very anxious.
Josh, it's Jesse. So what's the protocol? If you've gotten no proof of life and the deadline's in an hour and a half, do you pay? What does the FBI tell you to do?
I don't know if there's, again, a playbook on all of that. It's interesting on proof of life, too, is that we know that they've received no video or photographs. Proof of life can come in other forms through information. So they could be sharing information that would be only known by Nancie Guthrie or the family members to show that they do, in fact, have her. But the last that we heard from the FBI is that they've received no proof of life, whatever they mean by that term. But as far as whether or not you just pay the ransom and hope for the best, I think that's a decision that would be made by the family on whether or not they want to take that chance.
Hey, Josh, we keep saying paying the ransom. Is there any kind of specifics on how that would have been accomplished, given the fact that it is now the so-called kidnappers made this globally known? How would they act? Was there any, I don't know, hint at how you would actually pay something like this, Bitcoin or cash? How do you do that?
Right. So we do know that initially there was a Bitcoin wallet, which is essentially a bank account, identified in those early notes. But something interesting about that is that those wallets can be set up fairly quickly. This is not something that needs a matter of days to do. It can be done in minutes. So they could have changed that number. And in further communications, and in fact, this last communication that we know was not sent to TMZ, they could have changed that number. So I know that we've heard reports that TMZ is saying they see no activity in that original wallet that they had been monitoring, but that it could be that the money is in a different wallet, and we just don't know about that. Again, in Savannah's last statement here, she's not commenting on the money at all, which is also interesting, that she's not even discussing that, but just instead desperately reaching out to the public for their help.
How traceable is Bitcoin ransom? I mean, how traceable? Is it untraceable?
No, it's far more traceable than I even realized before going into this. We've talked to Bitcoin experts who tell us that they can absolutely monitor these things. And in fact, they have a database of Bitcoin wallets that have been used in the past for criminal activity, and they can continue to monitor them. Furthermore, it's one thing to get the Bitcoin. It's another thing to turn that into some sort of currency that you can actually spend if you're the kidnapper. And that transaction itself can also be monitored. So I'm sure the FBI is on top of all of this. And perhaps that's the reason why we're seeing some hesitation on the part of the kidnappers, or even on the part of the Guthries to finalize this transaction, if that is what's taking place.
Joshua, thank you. And we're just praying for everyone there on the ground that it comes to a peaceful and successful resolution shortly. And I will say this is something that if you want to weigh in on, but I think that, many people have posited that the ransom note, at least the first one, the alleged ransom note, was AI crafted. And thus far, companies that have created AI have been pretty good about very specific subpoenas. So potentially putting in that exact language and then ascertaining if that was a result that someone specific got.
Ken, we're back at Nancie's house, searching the roof, taking a wired device from it, and a tow truck taking an SUV from the garage. They searched a septic tank on the property, and now a new note purportedly from the kidnappers as well. Fox News chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt is live from Tucson with all the details. Jonathan, the latest, please.
Well, Laura, I think there's a couple of things viewers should note from that new video from Savannah Guthrie. I think, first of all, the way that she refers to her mother. She says, for instance, we believe she is out there. We believe she is hearing the prayers. Now, that would seem to indicate that she, Savannah, believes that Nancie is alive somewhere. That's a little bit of a different tone to that we heard in her last message directly to the kidnappers that was posted Saturday night. A lot of people interpreted that as more of Savannah Guthrie sounding like this could be a worst case scenario. Today, though, very much clinging to the belief, the hope, the faith that her mother is alive. Now, remember, also, if you go back to that second message to the kidnappers that was posted Saturday night, Savannah Guthrie ended that by saying, we will pay. Now, if you believe that they believe that Nancie Guthrie is alive, then you would assume that they would pay very quickly. You might also then go back to the first ransom note, which TMZ's Harvey Levin revealed had the kidnapper or kidnappers had said, if the ransom is paid, we will return Nancie Guthrie to the Tucson area within a certain time frame. So now you could ask yourself, having seen this new video today, did they go ahead and pay on Saturday night or early into Sunday morning, and then they've heard nothing from the kidnappers? And that is why Savannah Guthrie is putting out this new, increasingly desperate sounding appeal for more help. Now, TMZ also reported today that the Bitcoin wallet address that was mentioned in the first ransom note that TMZ were among the media outlets receiving had zero paid into it as of this morning. But I would caution on that. It takes somewhere between 2 and 15 minutes to set up any Bitcoin wallet, depending on the complexity. Even the most complex takes you 15 minutes to set up. So they could very easily have set up multiple new Bitcoin wallet addresses. And the second message, which TMZ didn't get and has not been publicized in detail, could have had new Bitcoin addresses in it. So you mentioned as well, Laura, that 5 p.m. deadline just passing here in Arizona. So now we're waiting, basically, and of course, waiting most painfully are the Guthrie siblings now. Savannah's message certainly sounded very, very desperate tonight, Laura.
Jonathan, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Guthrie's desperate plea coming 3.5 hours before the second deadline, which was given as 7 Eastern tonight, obviously just a couple of minutes ago. Now, that's according to the original alleged ransom note, a note which demanded $6 million by 5 p.m. local time. That's 7 o'clock Eastern, according to our affiliate, KGUN. But according to TMZ, the Bitcoin account referenced in the ransom note still has a zero balance.
We believe our mom is still out there.
Savannah Guthrie, sitting alone, makes a direct appeal to the public for help in the search for her missing mother, Nancie Guthrie, 9 days after she was taken in the middle of the night from her home in Tucson, Arizona.
We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where.
It's been 3 days since the alleged kidnapper sent a second ransom note to a local TV station after demanding $6 million. The latest note did not include a deadline. The FBI and the local sheriff's department have searched Nancie's neighborhood day and night, scouring her home, her rooftop, even an underground septic tank near her property. Searches by air and ground of the nearby foothills and desert, and still Nancie's no closer to coming home. Savannah and her family are reaching out again, this time for more than prayers, asking people to look for their mother wherever they can.
No matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement.
Expressing gratitude in this horrific moment as she appeals to everyone concerned about her mother's fate.
Thank you so much for all of the prayers, because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place.
This is the 4th video the family has posted to social media, including 2 from all 3 of Nancie's children and 1 video just from her son. Previous posts were aimed at the kidnappers.
First, we have to know that you have our mom. We went to talk to you and we are waiting for contact.
And even directly to their mom.
Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest.
On Saturday, the siblings again reached out to the potential kidnappers, offering payment.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
With each message, another glimpse into this nightmare that Nancie Guthrie's family is facing, seemingly with no end in sight.
We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
You've been looking at the Bitcoin account. What are you reporting?
There's nothing there. It has not been deposited. Aaron, I was thinking of something that you raised on Friday when you spoke to the reporter from KOLD and asked about the second note. And you asked her if this was a ransom note. And she kind of carefully said that she doesn't think authorities would characterize it as a ransom note. The only other thing I can think of, what if, and I don't know this, but I'm just raising this, what if there was another Bitcoin address in that second ransom letter that doesn't align with the one we received? I don't know why they would do this, and it doesn't make sense to me, because if Savannah did pay this money, I don't know that it's in her interest to do an APB for everybody to look out for somebody who might have her mom or to find her mom if they paid the money and they're waiting for the return of their mother. I don't know that she would go out with a call like that. So on a level, I don't see why there would be another Bitcoin account. But I think it's possible it was in this letter. I want to read you I'll read you one line from the ransom note we received. And they say, it is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. So, you know, this was way back when the first ransom note was issued, and days passed. And on Saturday, Savannah said, we are going to pay this. So it's baffling to us. We just don't understand what has transpired, but the account we're looking at does not show a deposit.
And so you said the original sentence was, it is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. All right. So now I understand exactly what you're saying, right? It was interesting that the way that reporter who had seen the second letter you're right, did characterize it as not a ransom note. But so we don't know if there was an additional address in it or not. But when you talk about the Bitcoin address itself, my understanding is that, Harvey, it's not hard to check it. I mean, you're checking it frequently, right? That Bitcoin address?
Not hard to check it, but almost impossible, and maybe impossible to find out who is it going to. That's the issue. But we're not seeing a deposit, and we've been looking obviously all day. And we looked at 4 o'clock our time, 5 o'clock Tucson time, and we're not seeing it.
And you know, we were talking to a crypto expert, John Griffin. He was saying, okay, whoever set up this particular Bitcoin account does show a basic level of crypto knowledge, which is certainly consistent with everything else, right? No one has been able to find out the whereabouts of Nancie Guthrie. So there's nothing basic about the activities here. But then he added, if they're a sophisticated crypto operator, that they will move the funds, he said, in such a way that it'll go to other cryptocurrencies and then the tracks will disappear. Because, we all hear, oh, Bitcoin's supposed to be all transparent. Although then we hear, but no one will have any idea on God's green earth whose account this is. But, that the fact that they could transfer this from Bitcoin into other cryptocurrencies. Are you hearing this also, Harvey, from your experts?
Yeah, I mean, look, what we're hearing is that it should show up at least at some point. I mean, we're checking this every minute. It should show up at some point in this account, and we just haven't seen it. But again, Aaron, I'm just puzzled that Savannah said on Saturday they were going to pay the money. And clearly they were responding to something in that letter when she said, we understand and we will pay. So it meant that they hadn't yet, but will, and we're not seeing it. But if she did pay, why this new video?
New information from the Pima County Sheriff tonight in the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancie. The sheriff saying in his statement just a moment ago, quote, many of you observed an active law enforcement presence at the Guthrie residences over the weekend. That activity will continue tonight and into tomorrow as part of the ongoing investigative process, including the expansion of the search and follow up on new leads. Now, we saw the search of a septic tank at Nancie Guthrie's home over the weekend, and at least 3 deputy sheriffs were seen at Savannah's sister Annie's house as well. Officials left with a bag, and 1 deputy sheriff was seen wearing blue latex gloves. Out front now, Mary Ellen O'Toole, former FBI senior profiler, and Michael Alcazar, retired NYPD hostage negotiator. I appreciate both of you. So, Michael, we were told Nancie Guthrie's home had been turned back over to the family last week, and that happened pretty early on. Since then, though, numerous searches, right? They found a device on the roof that a neighbor had alerted them something might be up there. They had that. Then we saw them at the septic tank. We've obviously, seen them go back and forth many times. The crime scene tape went up, but not for a couple days after the initial alleged abduction. What does all this say to you?
To me, it seems like they probably rushed in releasing the crime scene. Probably they didn't process the crime scene to the best of their ability. I don't know what was the rush in releasing it, and now they're getting more information. Now they have to revisit it. And of course, we saw in the past that people have been in the crime scene, news outlets have been in the crime scene, which has now contaminated the crime scene, which just makes it a little bit harder to process because now you have more DNA, more fingerprints, more footprints in the crime scene. So I think they probably drop the ball a little bit in releasing that crime scene too early.
Mary Ellen, we just got to the FBI, and I want to note the context here, of course. It's about half an hour after the first ransom notes final deadline. And the FBI statement says, the FBI is not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and the suspected kidnappers, nor have we identified a suspect or person of interest in this case at this time. Now, Mary Ellen, that fits with what would be publicly known, right? But if anybody thought that there was anything private that we weren't aware of, this tries to disabuse us of that notion. How surprised are you at this point that they would say no suspect, no person of interest, no communication?
That is surprising because the point of either not saying that or saying something to suggest that they're looking at a number of people, which essentially would be correct. They're not ruling out anybody, really keeps the pressure on the offender, on the kidnapper, the kidnappers. And that's an important thing to do, to keep pressure on them, because when there's pressure on the person that's responsible, they will make mistakes, or they'll say something to somebody else that'll just blurt it out like, don't they know what they're talking? They have no idea what they're talking about. This is ridiculous, or something else. And that information, that comment could then be relayed to law enforcement. So I'm not sure I understand the rationale behind saying we don't know anything about any suspects at this time. You really do want to keep the pressure on the community.
We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
All right, obviously.
Meanwhile, say the Super Bowl culture clash, 2 halftime shows, 2 very different visions of America, and 1 massive audience watching it all play out. The NFL handing its halftime stage to Bad Bunny, we just talked about it, an artist who has repeatedly made anti-ICE remarks and openly criticized U.S. immigration enforcement. The decision sparking backlash from critics saying this isn't just entertainment, it's a political message on America's biggest stage. In response, Turning Point USA rolled out their star-studded all-American halftime show featuring patriotic themes, conservative voices too. Watch.
The artists that have teamed up with us, I just want to say thank you to them. It's very brave of them to do this. It's powerful because what Charlie always loved and knew is that he wanted to be in the forefront of the culture war. And what better way to honor him than just to get in the middle of this and be able to offer an alternative to families. That's the thing that's so beautiful about Turning Point USA and all of our programs.
And joining us is Turning Point USA spokesperson Andrew Colvett. Andrew, I watched your show. It was great. How did you do? Do you have a sense of how many people watched?
Yeah, it was kind of blew our minds actually a little bit, Brian. And we saw at one point across all the different social channels, we saw over 10 million concurrent views. So that was adding up all of Rumble and all of our partners just on the social side. So, and now the numbers keep trickling in. I mean, right now, as I'm sitting here, YouTube's numbers keep updating. And so we're trying to put it all together. What I can safely say is that we are now over 20 million viewers across just social. So we haven't even gotten our partner broadcasters, their analytics. As you know, sometimes the ratings take a little while, but that's 20 million viewers. And we don't know how many people were gathered together, 3, 4, 10 in a room watching together. So we're going to try and put a final number on that when we can. What we can safely say is over 20 million Americans tuned in to the All-American halftime show tonight.
I looked at the pregame show. They had Green Day, the most anti-American band you can imagine. Their hits album was called The American Idiot, and the lyrics reflect what he thinks of America and our policies. And then they have at halftime Bad Bunny. I mean, NFL is the #1 league in the world, and they do a lot right. I don't understand why in the year 250 they wouldn't think red, white, and blue, but you did. Lee Brice also released a song that is so appropriate about our culture. Talk about that.
Yeah, he actually wrote that in honor of Charlie. So, he has a ton of hits, and he wanted to play this one. We said, absolutely. You wrote it for Charlie in his honor, so do it. And I mean, that's what you saw from all of our performers. They did something special to honor the moment, honor how big the stage was, honor Charlie, honor our country. And you saw that from Kid Rock, who said God woke him up in the middle of the night to write another verse to that hit song, Till You Can't. And he used it to, glorify Jesus and lift up his faith and be loud and proud about that. But really, there was no agenda. It was just good music for Americans, for people that wanted to feel proud about their country, wanted to love their country, love their God, and love some great music. So, and that was in contrast to the other guys. That was on full display tonight, Brian.
And you notice, if you had Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett all performing tonight. But you mentioned that you went back and looked at Charlie Kirk's tweets, and you noticed that he was always commenting on the halftime show. He's like, why can't they be a little bit more red, white, and blue? Why can't it be a little bit more pro-American when the whole world is watching? And that's what kind of motivated you guys to do something.
Yeah, he was always fixated on this event, this halftime institution. He wanted it to lift up the best ideals of our country as opposed to pulling us down or being, kind of the lowest common denominator. He wanted it to lift us higher. He wanted it to be about our highest ideals. And, because of the success that just it's blown our minds tonight, Brian. So we are going to commit to doing this again next year. We're going to do another halftime show for the country next year. So I'm breaking a little news here, Brian. At 20 million at very minimum, I think that number is going to go higher, 40, maybe even 50 in the next 24 hours. So I can tell you that's a shot across the bow. People are paying attention. And, if you give us a year to plan this thing, I'm really excited to see what we can pull off. But we got to do it for the country. And this was a massive success, and we were grateful to do it.
And the Make Heaven Crowded tour gets started for 2026. And that's going to be fantastic, too. And, of course, the president's going to be counting on you guys to get the vote out with Turning Point Action. So there's a lot of focus on Turning Point.
We're busy.
Andrew, and you're a great spokesman for it. And the number, one more time, how many people watched as of right now?
Well, what we can say without a doubt, we over 20 million people, 20 million views on social, but that's not broadcast. That's not any of our OTT fast channels. So we don't know what that number is going to be. It could rise as high as 40 or 50 million. We're going to find out that final number tomorrow, but at least 20 million, which we can, you can't even debate.
And join me after the show next year, too. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Andrew.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I mean,
with Turning Point USA hosting their own alternative halftime performance. The show drawing in more than 10 million live viewers and more than 25 million views on social media platforms. The Turning Point team also dedicated those performances to the life of Charlie Kirk.
Welcome to the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show. And this one's for you, Charlie.
Independent journalist Elvita Duffy Alfonso joins me now. Elvita, great to see you. What did you think about the halftime show and the importance of it?
Listen, the halftime show, the TPUSA halftime show, was an incredible celebration of American cultural identity, but also our values. You saw Kid Rock literally spreading through his music the gospel during the TPUSA halftime show. It was beautiful. The dedication to Charlie Kirk made me quite literally tear up. And they only had a couple months to put this together, Carly. Had they had the whole year like the NFL, can you imagine what they could have done? And so I hope they do it again next year. I think with the time to put together a venue and artists, I mean, it's going to be even more spectacular. And if I could just add this, the founding fathers, when they first created a national motto, it was E pluribus unum, which means in Latin, out of many, one. And meaning that they understood the unifying importance of having a country where we all can come around and share a cultural identity together. And that's what I felt like the TPUSA halftime show really celebrated. We hear a lot today about diversity is our strength, multiculturalism, divisiveness. That was not this halftime show. It was truly beautiful. It was wonderful, and it was a perfect celebration of America 250.
It was certainly unifying. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And your wish is about to come true when it comes to next year. Here's Andrew Colvett on an announcement for the future. Watch this.
We're going to do another halftime show for the country next year. So I'm breaking a little news here, Brian. 20 million at very minimum, people are paying attention. And, you know, if you give us a year to plan this thing, I'm really excited to see what we can pull off. But we got to do it for the country. And this was a massive success, and we were grateful to do it.
And the goal, of course, Evita, of Turning Point as a whole is to inspire young people to join the conservative movement. Do you think that these alternative halftime shows are part of achieving that goal, or is this just about playing fun?
Oh no, this is 1,000% part of that goal. Charlie Kirk, what made him so special is, first of all, he understood that the future of this country, it rests in our young people. And that's why he was on college campuses trying to quite literally evangelize young people. And he also understood that what we're facing right now as a nation is an identity crisis, is a spiritual crisis. And so everything he did had that in mind. So this halftime show is really about taking back American identity, taking back our culture, embracing our Christian culture again. So it was truly in the spirit of Charlie Kirk, of everything he stood for. And I think it's so important for young people to have seen this halftime show and seen the number. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
People are thirsty.
Yeah. Also want to squeeze in a little bit of time to talk about the Super Bowl ads. Here is Mike Tyson talking about Maha. Watch this.
My sister's name was Denise. She died of obesity at 25. She had a heart attack. I was so fat and nasty. I would eat anything. I was like 345 pounds. A quart of ice cream every hour. I had so much self-hate when I was like that. I just wanted to kill myself. We're the most powerful country in the world, and we have the most obese, fudgy people. Something has to be done about processed food in this country.
What do you think about the effectiveness of this ad?
Well, listen, I think that it's an incredible ad, and it's important because how many ads did we see last night that were for big food, that were for big pharma, that were not that are killing us? I mean, the big food and processed food. He's right; it's poison and it's hurting our culture, especially our youth. So to have Mike Tyson come on with an alternative message is so important. And this is also a unifying message, I might add. The RFK revolution, the MAHA movement. This is not a left and right issue. Everyone wants our country to be healthier. Everyone wants our children to be healthier. It is a winning issue, and I'm glad that there was at least one MAHA message last night among all of the many swarms of big food.
Yeah, you're right about that. And RFK Jr. said that they had a script, it wasn't working, so they just let Mike Tyson riff, and it became what we saw on TV yesterday. Evita, Duffy, Alfonso, we thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.
I'm Steve Doocy.
We stand here in support of all of you across Montana that are advancing freedom and American values. Charlie had a passion for working with young people, and in Montana, we've seen incredible growth of Turning Point chapters on our high school and college campuses. I'd love to see a chapter in every single high school in the state. At a time when our country is in need of God's light, there exists a great need for an organization like TPUSA to restore moral clarity, constitutional principles, and our founding values, starting with our youth. Thank you, Charlie, for starting this movement. Thank you, Erica, for carrying it on. In Montana, we will always support you.
There you have Montana Governor Greg Gianforte helping Erica Kirk honor her late husband Charlie's legacy and spread his message across the country. The governor pushing to bring Turning Point USA's Club America chapters to every high school in the state. Turning Point USA CEO Erica Kirk joins me now from Helena, Montana. Erica, it's great to have you on the show. I mean, the governor spoke so proudly of what's happening in Montana and these, Club America chapters. This is a big deal. I mean, it is the fifth state now after Texas and Florida and Oklahoma and Tennessee to do this. And it is significant to have this kind of presence in Montana and these other states. What did you think of today's gathering?
It is, and it's very special because Governor Gianforte and his amazing wife, Susan, have been friends with Charlie since he was 18. So he's been with Charlie for this mission for a very long time. And he and Charlie both recognize that the best way to get civics back into the school system is through Club America. And that's a solution that he understands. That's a solution that Montana is solving. And we're so honored and proud to be working alongside him. And also we will be adding Nebraska and Indiana in the coming weeks to that list. So we have, I think, 43 left to go for our states to partner with.
One at a time. It's all you need is one at a time. You talk about when Charlie was 18. I want to play some sound. This is from Fox and Friends. This is back last summer in July when Charlie was talking about the start of TPUSA and also how key the youth vote was. He said the following here. Watch.
Why did you call it Turning Point?
At the time, I felt as if we were kind of in a generational turning point. That was right before the re-election of Barack Obama. And I had just graduated high school. I kind of saw the liberal influences in curriculum. I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago in Wheeling High School. And there I was, a young high school graduate with no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing. I said, hey, I think we could do a better job of reaching young people. Yeah. The tables have completely flipped over the last decade. And it goes to show that this patriotic revival is being led by the youngest Americans. That should give everyone a lot of hope.
I find it interesting, Erica, because he used the phrase patriotic revival, and you can tell that that patriotic revival is underway. I mean, we have Jack Posobiec and Andrew Covette on our show all the time talking about this, and the numbers keep growing. And every week you think, oh, it's going to slow down. The momentum is going to slow down. It just doesn't happen. The momentum is building.
Yes, it is. And God is so good. And it's really powerful because Charlie knew that you don't just talk about the youth, you talk to the youth. And he has put us in a position where this is such an authentic and true movement. I mean, case in point, you have high schoolers, some of them that are walking out for those Ice Out walks. Our students, instead of walking out, they're holding hands in a circle around the American flag praying. There is a huge juxtaposition between what we are providing for our students rather than the other side. And so it's really powerful. And Charlie, before he was murdered, he told the team, Andrew Cipher was in that meeting, our chief field officer, he said, I want a high school chapter on 35,000 high school campuses. And Andrew's like, I don't think there's that many high schools in the country. So they looked it up, there's 27,000. So Charlie was like, okay, let's do 25,000 high school chapters. I'll give you a little bit of a delta there, but he was intentional. He knew that Club America was the future. And anyone who's watching this right now, whether you are a parent, a student, I just want to encourage you to get involved. I want you guys to be able to know that there is a place for you, and it's with Club America. And that's where my heart is at. My children are Gen Alpha. That's going to be the incoming freshman class. I also want to be able to pour into these students for them to know that in this upcoming election for midterms, it is your first time to vote. And that is very powerful. And I want these students to understand that your voice is in that ballot box. It is not with a weapon, and it's not to murder people. You need to get out there and vote and be able to understand what you're voting for, who you're voting for, and why. And that is why Club America is so important. And it's on our college campuses too, but Club America especially, because I know, Trace, you understand this too. You will never forget the first time that you ever voted. Never. And there's something that's really special about that. And so even if I have to drive a bus of high school students to the voting polls, we'll do it. But it's so, so important. And I'm just honored and blessed that Charlie entrusted not just to me, but our whole entire Turning Point USA team to carry this mission forward, because God knows this country needs it. And the only way to heal and move forward, aside from having obviously the Lord involved, is for Club America and our college chapters all across the country.
I find it interesting, Erica, when you talk about at the very beginning of your statement there, you were talking about this authentic movement. How is it that you go into young people and you convey to them the authenticity of what is happening in this country? What do you say to them?
You can't explain authenticity. You either feel it or you don't. Charlie was very good about that. He never had to over-explain who he was. He was phenomenal on his daily show. He was just an amazing man. Everyone knew that. Everyone could see it. And thank gosh, we have all of his videos that we can see for years to come. But the young students see authenticity and they can immediately sniff it out. They can also see if there's desperation in the room. So thank goodness that our movement has always carried forth the authentic pillars of what Charlie established this on. And we're going to honor that and continue it forward.
I wonder, when you talk about, the trial of Tyler Robinson, and you have been very forthright saying, listen, I think we need cameras in court. And the reason you say we need cameras in court is not because you want this to be, you want this to be on the record. You want everything to be on the record. You want transparency, and you want to make sure there is nobody trying to twist this in any kind of outlying organization trying to twist this into something it's not. Is that a fair assessment of why you want this thing out there and transparent?
Absolutely. I want there to be no hesitation in understanding of what happened to my husband that day. I want there to always be full transparency, because what I don't want to have happen is for there not to be, and then I am relying then on social media and other news outlets to explain the narrative, rather than saying, hey, this is what happened. This is what here's all of the, it's just as hard, all of the facts on the table for you guys to see. And you guys can see on full display what happened to my husband. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts or confusion as to who did it and why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to end on that. I want to talk about something uplifting, that the alternative halftime show for the Super Bowl, Erica. You know, Kid Rock, you're talking about this. I thought I was kind of reading this and I thought, this is brilliant. After watching the Grammys and after watching, there is an appetite for this. I mean, it's a brilliant move. I'm just wondering what you hope comes out. What's the message you're trying to convey?
It's powerful because what Charlie always loved and knew is that he wanted to be in the forefront of the culture war. He would be fist pumping to this. He'd be so stoked. And what better way to honor him than just to get in the middle of this and be able to offer an alternative to families. That's the thing that's so beautiful about Turning Point USA and all of our programs. It's holistic. It's for the entire home. It's for every age. And so for us to be able to provide an alternative that's pro-America, that's just pro everything, that's not the opposite of what they're putting out there. I don't want to go into details and bash that because there's apparently an audience that wants that, but there's a larger audience that wants ours. And so we are going to make it very amazing. I'm so excited. Our team has worked so hard. The artists that have teamed up with us, I just want to say thank you to them. It's very brave of them to do this. And they partnered with us without hesitation, and it's actually been a huge blessing, and it's going to be an unbelievable halftime show. We have it being broadcasted all over, but it's one of those things where at Turning Point USA, we're doing more than just being in one little orbit in space within the country. I mean, we're making a huge impact. We always have, always will, and that will be our mission to continue moving forward and honoring Charlie until my last breath.
It's kind of interesting because I know you literally are working around the clock. I know you're up late at night and you're up early in the morning. Is it the contact you have with young people? Is it lifting you, Erica? What's the message you have for them and for what they are offering you?
No, it's really special. I mean, Charlie has handpicked a phenomenal team. So this is more passion related for me. It's not a 9 to 5. I raise my babies. They're my priority, but also Turning Point USA has amazing staff. And we are so focused on making sure that they have a place to go to. And what's also so amazing is that we are being able to see how these generations are creating leaders. And that's what Charlie wanted, is for leaders in the community, for these kids to be able to fight to have their chapters on campuses, for them to just be good people. And that's what we need. And so, yes, being around these students, getting to talk to them, getting to hear their stories about Charlie, getting to hear how they're inspired from Charlie and what they are going to do personally to not only continue Charlie's legacy, but also their own. Is extremely powerful and uplifting and very moving. And I actually love sharing that with my kids every single day. When I hear the stories, I get to share them with my babies and say, this is how daddy continues to live on forever.
Erica Kirk, great to have you on the show. Best of luck.
God bless you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to
Faith, family, freedom. Those are the values guiding Turning Point USA's All-American Halftime Show.
Yep, the star-studded lineup includes Brantley Gilbert, Gabby Barrett, Lee Brice, and it's, of course, the headliner is the Detroit Cowboy himself, Kid Rock.
So the music legend himself joins us now. Bob, good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So tell us about the performance, when you guys are going to do it, and where we can find it.
Well, I think there's a whole website. If you go to Turning Point USA, that will direct you to a website where it has every platform that's going to be running it. I plan to come out pretty classic rock, in your face, high energy, what people would expect, but then it turns very quickly. And I'm approaching this like musically, I know that nothing beats a great song. That's the most powerful thing. No performance, no pyro, no lighting will beat a great song. So I'm gonna flip a 180 and do what I think is one of the best written songs in a long time. And then that night at midnight, that song will be released, streaming and downloading everywhere. Yeah.
All right. Why did y'all decide to do this as an alternative?
You know, I think really Turning Point read the room. And just at the end of the day, like people like Taylor Sheridan and Tyler Perry have, you know, they realize there's a big portion of this country, like it or not, that's underserved entertainment wise. And, you know, we're just going to go play for our base, you know, people who love America, love football, love Jesus. And it's pretty much that simple. And, you know, of course, the media and the haters are going to try to detract from it. And I think I would like to get this point across once again when I say I think I speak for Turning Point and all the artists involved, that none of us are approaching this with any hate in our hearts at all. It's just a love for our base and love for music, our country, and everything else.
Right. Are you surprised? I mean, they seem to be picking some polarizing acts for the NFL.
Man, you know, if the NFL really were all about its stated goals and really, you know, wanted to take care of their fan base, and it seems to me like, okay, why not do things that are really right from those cities? You know, really celebrate the culture of any city they're in. And, you know, there's a band that checks every single box from San Francisco by the name of Metallica. Also, some great rappers from the Bay Area, E40, Too Short. You know, I wish they would have done this in New Orleans with Lil Wayne, or even the year I played the Super Bowl in Houston, which a lot of people don't remember because Janet Jackson showed her boob. But it should have been like Beyonce and ZZ Top or something.
Yeah, so that's interesting. What about this new song? You said it's a new song or a remake of a song that's out there that you're talking about?
It's a pretty current last few years country song, and it's just one of the greatest written songs that I've heard in a long time. And I did it in a very unique way. It's by a friend of mine who's a very talented, famous artist, one of the best singers in country music. I don't want to give it away, and I actually wrote something new for it that I thought they missed when they were writing this beautiful song. So, and we recorded it a while back, and I said, man, if we're going to play it, why don't we put it out for people that night?
All right. So if everyone wants to watch the All-American Halftime Show, it will be streaming on Turning Point USA's YouTube, on X, and Rumble platforms, as well as other outside partners. Tell us about your tour. You have this Freedom 250.
Yes, ma'am. We're announcing today our Freedom 250 tour. It's not a ton of dates. Grandpa doesn't play a ton of dates anymore. I think it's about 10 shows in amphitheaters. And it's the Freedom 250 tour, and we're calling it the Road to Nashville. And it's going to lead up to something July 3rd, you know, a huge celebration, kind of like a New Year's Eve type thing on the eve of our country's 250th birthday. We got some great opening acts in select cities from John Party, Parker McCullum, Big and Rich, it's just Brantley Gilbert, of course, Big and Rich. So we're looking forward to it.
It's going to be great. And when's the next time you go into the White House to do some policy meetings?
Right. Oh, man. I know. Yeah, it's fun. This weekend, I actually get to do some music because some days, you know, it's just being fortunate enough to be friends with POTUS and the administration. I feel like I work for the freaking federal government. It's not very fun.
Well, you're still doing it after all these years. And if you want to get tickets, they're on sale now for Kids Rock Freedom Tour, 250 Tour. You don't want to miss that out.
No tickets. We're just announcing the tour today. Then tickets will go on sale next Friday, where I'm going to have some big announcements next week because we're really doing some unique things with ticketing.
Okay, we can't wait to hear your new song.
Get the money to the artist.
brother.
Thank you, Kid Rock.
I'm Steve Deuce.
All right, you guys, we still friends? We still friends after all that? Let me see. Whoa, goodness gracious, I look rough. Let me get back. So we spoke about Nancie Guthrie. I will be praying. I don't know what's going to happen in that case. The $4 million ransom went to $6 million, and it's unclear if it's been paid, and I'll just be praying. You guys say it could be family. It looks suspicious. That case is loaded. I thought those last clips of Turning Point halftime show would tear you guys up. I thought they did an amazing show. I know there's been some controversy with Bad Bunny. I don't really know the music with Bad Bunny, but you know what? I'm part Puerto Rican. It is what it is. But Kid Rock did an amazing job. And I really give a huge shout out to the performers at Turning Point USA because of the criticism, because of the backlash that they've got for supporting Turning Point USA, regardless of what you guys think. You know what? It was in honor of Charlie Kirk. That's something that they put together. And I thought they did an amazing job, especially for planning it on such short notice. I look rough. I know I look rough. Yeah. Okay, let me see you guys' comments. But nothing wrong with Kid Rock. Kid Rock has a mixed kid, and I learn something new every day. Damn it, said, I'm just disappointed that we have put this much energy in for one woman when nurse over 300,000 children missing. It's sad. That's sad. You guys have any final thoughts for me? Turning Point has every right to look foolish. They didn't look foolish. They did an amazing job. What are you talking about? Anyone who supports this administration doesn't protect kids. They prey on them. Casper, I don't support anybody hurting kids, so that's fake news. That's the rhetoric that I talk about against the political left. You guys just make this stuff up as you go. Y'all know I'm still getting over the coronavirus, and that's really, really taking a toll. So if I see low energy, it's been, I'm getting better though. I'm getting over it. I'm at the tail end, but oh, thank you, Daisha. Thank you. I appreciate you. I voted for Trump. We have Trump supporters in the chat. We have some. Yeah, I've been struggling with this virus, and I didn't even think people were captioning it anymore. My final thought is don't go to sleep, stay awake, and talk with us. We make stuff up. Yeah, this stuff they say about the political left. I was in this chat earlier, and I just was like scrolling on YouTube, and I was listening to some of the comments that they were putting in the chat. I believe the content creator was talking about Renee Good and the protest or whatever sounds like, and I'm just listening to some of the things, the comments that came from the left, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could have hit that link, but anyway, Turning Point hate America. Why would you say Turning Point hates America? Erica Kirk gets so much hate from a bunch of people that don't even know her. This lady lost her husband. I think she's doing an amazing job. And we have midterm elections coming up, and she's working with young voters and getting them out to vote for midterms. Conservatives, go out there and vote. Make sure you vote for the midterm elections. Turning Point indoctrinate kids. But would you say that if she was talking about democratic values, Casper, or is it just because she's talking about things concerning the right? I was conservative until MAGA, and he turned me the other way. I'm going to say, I wonder if the people that say that were really conservative. I wonder. Because how can protecting the borders and doing what's right for our country turn you away from being conservative? Now, I'm not here to persuade you to be Republican or Democrat at all. Erica Kirk is a happy, okay, Donald Trump is crazy. Well, if you guys like Donald Trump or not, Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. He's the commander-in-chief, so I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be unhappy for the next few years? I'm going to tell you this. I think that Donald Trump says a lot of things for shock value, shock politics, whatever the case may be, but he's definitely doing what he needs to do for the country. I'm all for protecting those borders. I'm all for getting illegal immigrants. They are illegal immigrants out of the country. And there was a lot of things about the halftime show that I'm not going to talk about tonight, but some of it felt very, I don't want to get my channel flagged. I want to leave that alone. But you guys know where I'm going with that. I don't respect authority okay, you guys say now. MU the man. Daisha. MU the man in the POTUS and should not act like that he needs to go. he needs to go away. And what would our alternative be? Uppercut grip on that coffee. They are making crap up, lying about TPSU and the president. Donald Trump is doing an amazing job. And despite what the media shows you, Donald Trump has a high approval. All right. Now, you're not going to see that, but he's doing what he has to do. Now, I have not heard anything about the Tyler Robinson trial. So I don't really know what's going on there, but I do pray for justice for Erica. I don't like what's happening with her and Candace Owens. I really don't like that, but that's what's happening. Normalized men wearing, that's crazy. The racist post, he needs to apologize. I think JD was booed. That was awesome. Well, is anybody surprised that JD Vance got booed? Is anybody surprised I'm radicalized? Okay, it's a matter of your opinion. I'm not surprised that JD Vance got booed. I was listening to some of what the Olympians had to say. There's just a lot of lies being spread and a lot of propaganda concerning the right, because we stand up for our country, we love our country, and we stand strong in our beliefs. But when you're going against mainstream media and people telling you that Republicans are fascists and all those other things and demon worshippers, then of course he's going to get booed. But a lot of people are just going along with the crowd, because again, I like to remind you guys that Donald Trump did win the popular vote. And that says a lot for our country. He won the popular vote because Americans were tired of the way this country was being ran. And I'm very proud to say that things are taking a turn for the better. Now, some of you are going to say, no, it's not. I understand that. But there's a lot of fear mongering when it comes to the political right. There's a lot of judgment. And that's just because there's paid agitators, there's paid protesters, and they are spreading this message of hate. It's not the Republican Party that's spreading hate. I'm glad he was booed. He called one of the athletes a, when you have a bunch of people coming at you and you want to keep poking the bear, sometimes that bear is going to poke back. Now, let me address the racist message that one of you put in my chat. I did a stream about it. I think I've done several streams about that video that people are trying to tie Donald Trump to. Donald Trump clearly said one of his staffers was on his Truth Social account, and they put out that video, the AI generated video of the Obamas. Distasteful as it may be, the video was removed. I believe within 24 hours, the video was moved. I'm in no way making excuses for it. I just report on the news and tell you guys what happened. I do not believe that Donald Trump put that video out there. It was one of his staffers, and he has to deal with his staffers accordingly. Of course, he's on all these social media sites, so he's not the only one that I'm going to call. Let me not look at the chat. He's not the only one that's on this account. And he would definitely not put something like that out right before midterm elections. He's not a dumb man. And Donald Trump has strong ties with a lot of Black people, Black leaders. He's given money to the HBCUs. He's done a lot. And that's just not something that he did. All right. Now, we all know that Obama has said some things about Trump. He has criticized him. So did Donald Trump come out and say, I apologize? I haven't heard an apology from Donald Trump, but that doesn't make him racist. And it doesn't, I'm not quick to throw the race card around. And I thought you guys didn't like talking about race, but all of a sudden everybody's racist. Like, I'm not going for it. I'm not going to go for that. Now, if I saw something that was racist, I'd be the first to say that it was racist. Okay. But I didn't see it. So I'm not going to call that out. I'm just going to say, you know what? That was distasteful. They took it down. Obama hasn't been, Daisha. So Obama has his own issues. And if you want to talk about Obama, I would love to start talking about the illegal immigration and how Obama used Tom Homan like Donald Trump, but Obama didn't get the criticism. Obama's the one that gave him an award, not Trump. Obama has a whole set of issues. Okay. No critical thoughts. I wonder why. You wonder why what? Which part? Dr. Mann, who you find with? Ivanka Trump with bank president? I'm hoping for JD Vance, you guys. I think that JD Vance would do a good job. Obama sucks too. Okay, well, it has been. God bless Trump and God bless you, misunderstood. 23 B-Rad, God bless you too. No president. Let's see what Damage said. No president has never had an admin free of backstabbers who continuously attack behind the scenes. Damage, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to sabotage him. Donald Trump went over. A lot of Black Americans, Black men in particular, voted for Donald Trump. And quite a few of them turned conservative. I was happy to see it. I would love to see more Black Republicans because it was the Republican Party that fought for civil rights. It was the Republican Party that fought for all of the laws that were put in place for our people. Now, I would love to get to a place where we're just talking about Americans and we're not so divided by race. I don't see that happening just from looking at the chat and looking at some of the comments that you guys put under my comment sections. I don't see how that's going to happen. But I would like to see the racial tensions subside. Can we ever get to that place? I don't know. That would be a conversation for my regular streams, not my verticals, but horizontal streams. I will have a conversation like that. I don't really like talking about race, but unfortunately with this video and Obama, race has come up. But it is what it is. I'm just praying for a stronger country. I'm praying for Donald Trump. He has a lot of work to do. He's only been in office for a little over a year, and he has done a lot within that year. He's done a lot in Israel. He's done a lot with Gaza. He is negotiating over there with Greenland, which will be important to the United States for national security. Is where it's located, and there's just all kinds of things with Greenland. And we had a great conversation about that yesterday. But Donald Trump and the Trump administration are working hard to make this country strong, to united, and take away some of the problems that happened during the Biden and Harris administration. And a lot of things that was damaging towards our country that weakened our national security. And Donald Trump has came in within this year and cleaned it all up. Donald Trump has made the strongest political comeback in one of the strongest political comebacks in history. And so now I'm just going to pray that the best thing keeps happening for the country with midterms, and then 2028, go JD Vance. I'm going to pray, God forbid it's Newsom. Okay. What's my Instagram? Oh, you want my Instagram? Put a message under one of my videos and I could put it in there. Now, let me just read you guys' comments. What problems happened during Biden? We can start with the border. Classic example of brainwash in America. Oh man, you guys. Let me try to read some of your comments. Don't forget to hit the like because they love to flag my videos. Why? But I'll start a backup channel just in case. Start praying. Daisha, what? Start praying because it's not looking good for the GOP. In fact, it's looking really bad. It's not looking really bad. That's just what the media wants you to believe, but it really isn't. And because things are not looking bad. As a matter of fact, if a Democratic president was doing what Donald Trump is doing right now, he would be praised. He would be praised for what he did in Venezuela. The Venezuelans are happy. And he would be praised for cleaning up Washington, D.C. and the other cities and states that he's been in. He would be praised, but because it's Donald Trump, they try to pick him apart and criticize every little thing that he does. But Donald Trump is not in a bad position. He has a lot of support, and you can see that. But the media is not going to show you that. The media is going to make it seem as if people are being harmed. They love to say American citizens are being deported. American citizens are being unalived. American citizens need to stay out of the way from the ICE agents. Let those agents do their job. Okay. And it's not all ICE agents that's out there. They're federal agents. Okay. You got Border Patrol. You have a lot of other agents. You have at least around 5 different agencies out there protecting our borders. There's just a lot, but Donald Trump is doing what he needs to do and what the American people voted him to do, and he has a strong support system. Now, he has somebody weak on his team, because there's no way that somebody under his team would ever have posted a video like that when Donald Trump is already under high scrutiny. Hellslayer, you really, Daisha, I play more than Fox News. As a matter of fact, I give nonpartisan commentary, okay? I play Fox, I play CNN, I play whatever will tell the full story so I can represent both sides. I'm willing to hear both sides. The problem is a lot of you are not willing to hear both sides. You want to say things like I'm dumb and those kind of things, or call Republicans. If you're able to reason and you stood strong in your point, you would be able to use your words, okay? I'm not talking about you, Daisha. I'm not talking about you. But no, I look for both sides. I look for a strong, and I could be unfair and play like some weak arguments from the left, but I look for people that are well-spoken, the politicians that's going to say what the Democrats are speaking against and their problems with the political right. And I'm going to play things to kind of break down what the Republican Party is talking about, what they're standing for. And I play both sides. I just report the news. I hardly give commentary on it, except at the end, and then I'll chat with you guys. But there was a time I didn't even talk to you guys. I just played clips. But then I'm like, no, it's hard for me to stay quiet because I get tired of the lies that comes from. There's good Democrats. I'm not demonizing the Democratic Party at all, but Republicans are for traditional values, strong borders, and that's really the core. And I could break it down a lot more. But all of this fear mongering, the Americans hate, Republicans hate America, that's simply not true. So that's why you have the turning points of USA. You have the other people that come out and speak about things. Fox News is one of them, but Fox News also plays from the Democratic Party. But somebody has to be able to speak, and we can't be silenced. If freedom of speech is allowed, it can't just be for the left, it has to be for the right as well. And I found myself in a weird position to where I was getting silenced. I was getting a lot of backlash for my thoughts. So I had to have a space where we could speak. Okay. Social media is dangerous for people like you, Mercy. I prefer independent reporters who wear their biases openly. Okay. I'm trying to look for a comment that's related to what I'm talking about. And if I miss some, it's just because there's a lot in there. You have a right to say how you feel, Daisha, and I hope that you feel that you have the right to say how. I'm sure you do because you speak your mind, but so do you, Daisha. And I agree with you on a lot of points. And some points I'm like, we're going to have to agree to disagree, sis, but I'm always willing to listen. How you doing, Stacy? Charlie Kirk leaned to the left right before. Oh, that was evil. I don't have any mods in my chat that can remove your comment. NBC was so bad they had to change their name. Did they change their name? Thank you for the catch up. I see you. Thank you. So there's a lot. Democrats are going to have government shut down again. Oh, that's right. Did I play some of that tonight with the latest with the government shutdown? I don't think I did. It's 2:00 in the morning. Jesus loves you. Thank you. Jesus loves you too. Dr. Manhattan, we're been quiet. Fox News was so bad they had to pay millions in fines. That doesn't necessarily make them bad, Daisha. I followed you on Instagram. Thank you, Masuro. Okay. Thank you. You guys know anything about the shutdown? I really, really, really am hoping that the Democrats can work this out. I know good people that vote blue, regardless of the candidates, but I can't believe they're supporting the recent madness. I can't believe it either, Damage. Thank you, Masuro. You found me okay. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate you. Thank you. You guys have any final thoughts for me? I will be following this case. I'm sorry, Dr. Manhattan. On StreamYard, I can't see what comments are being removed. I'm brainwashed to the point where there's no brain cells left. Well, then obviously I'm not talking to you, and I'm talking to a particular group. I thought they voted on the extension, pausing the shutdown. Let me look and see if I have any notes on it. Let me see. I'm curious because last I checked, they were still trying to work out the deal, but it's a partial shutdown, right? Okay, I'll have to spend some time on that one. Maybe I'll put out a video on it later. Wait, as long as a reporter informs you up front they suck at reporting, that's the ones you prefer? Are you talking to me, Texas? When did I say that? I think they gave them 2 weeks of money. Okay, Texas. God bless you. Real talk. You're allowed to have an opinion, but if it's a negative one about Israel, you're not allowed. Okay. It's a partial shutdown. That's what I thought, Owen. Okay. Okay, so I will be looking. There's a lot of things that's going on. I'll keep up with that. I work in healthcare. There's a lot going on with healthcare. What do you guys think about Trump RX? There's a lot of things going on. And so the shutdown doesn't affect me that much. If you believe woke is bad, go back to sleep. Okay. All right, you guys. So I have some work to do. Misunderstood. I love you so much. You, my favorite. Hey, Palo Opa. Oho. Good to see you. I actually think knowingly reporting lies and actually having to pay. Okay, I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Keep trying people. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Again, I'm going to say this. Conservatives go out and vote. And you guys, I have a lot of friends. I have quite a few friends now that are Democrat. I love you guys just the same. Okay. I would just like to see it reciprocated. And all of the names and all the things that people make it seem as if you are a Republican, that you need to be ashamed. You need to be ashamed of who you are. If you don't believe, there's just so much. And I just think that in 2026, I would like to see us accept each other for who we are. And I will continue to speak about things that is important for this country. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why so many people are trying to convince everyone else to have open borders. And they say things like no one is illegal, forgetting that entering this country the wrong way makes you illegal, right? You committed a crime. That is illegal. So those kind of things I'll never understand. But I do understand that the only reason why people want illegal immigrants into this country is not for the reasons that they say, okay? It takes a toll on the American economy. It's dangerous, and you can't enter any other country that way. It takes a toll. It's dangerous for our national security. You have to know who's coming into this country, all right? And to say, Haley, I'm not going to time you out, Haley. I'm not going to time you out. If my mods let you ride, they let you ride. Try that in Canada. Exactly. Y'all try illegally entering Mexico. Yeah, and I'm just tired of the whole stolen. There's just so many arguments that does not make sense. 20,000 fine, $20,000 fine plus years in prison. Illegal aliens are profitable. I wasn't gonna say it, but you guys can say it in the chat. Yes, and also think. Don't ask me anything personal about myself. Think about who benefits. The House of Representatives, numbers, financing. There's so many things that come in with why we want illegal immigrants here. Are they likely to vote Democrat? Are they likely to vote Republican? But there's so many more things. It's not, oh yeah, we just care about their plight. No, because we do care once you enter this country, but there's a way to do it. And as long as you go through the process and you do it the right way, then you're welcome with open arms, okay? We love people coming over here that want to follow American laws and uplift our country, we don't have a problem with that, but it has to be the right way. Land wasn't stolen, it was conquered through war. The land, illegal immigrants are likely to vote Democrat. Sebastian, say I don't even have to say it. I just let you guys say it. I don't say it for algorithm purposes. And that's what I mean about the censoring. I have to censor what I say because I can show you guys on one of my horizontals, my streams all get flagged or age restricted. So there's a lot of things that I don't say that I would like to say, but it's okay. I'll get my message across a different way. I love my wife, my girlfriend, my favorite, love misunderstood. I love you. You're on a good one. You're on a good one. I love you guys too. I do. So according to you, this orange does everything right, accountable for nothing. Alan, when did I say that? I won't follow anybody 100%. I'm a free thinker. I think for myself. I didn't say that. But the bigger picture, protecting our borders, fighting the cost of prescription drugs, that wasn't why I voted for him, but that came after. Yes, I support that stuff. Do I agree with everyone 100%? Absolutely not. And I've spoken about things that I do not agree with. No. You're saying all facts, right? You're a big homie. So if I come conquer your house, does that make it mine? That's a false correlation. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. We're talking about land and you're talking about conquering my house. If you came into my house illegally, the same way if you came into the country illegally, you will go to jail. Is that the point you were trying to make? He has not done is for the board, not gonna lie. We need more poly right-wing women. So yes, enter my house illegally. There will be consequences. You will be separated from your family. And that's just how it is. No one's going to feel sorry for you. Maybe some liberals might, but nobody else. Just like ICE coming into my house illegally. Nobody can. Spiffy, stop. Nobody came into your house illegally. Stop. You wouldn't be in my chat if that happened. See? Fake news. You want fake sympathy? Now, rest in peace to everybody that lost their life. Big homie, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? If you survive, exactly. Rest in peace to everybody that has lost their life. Get out of the ICE agent's way. Let them do their job. You have no business standing in their way, parking your cars in areas to where they're trying to do an investigation where you're blocking traffic. That is not a peaceful protest. You are allowed by the Constitution to protest peacefully. You are not allowed to grab these ICE agents. Let me tell you something. Some people say these ICE agents shouldn't wear masks. I don't care. Because their lives are getting threatened. Their families' lives are being threatened. I do think they should wear body cams the same way I agree with police officers. But that will protect the ICE agent as well. Protects both. There's accountability that way, but let them do their job. I'm a black man and I rock with Trump all the way. You're a big homie. That's awesome. It's awesome. People are tired. I feel like America was so fragile just a couple years ago. People are afraid to say stuff. People are afraid to speak their mind. There's just a lot of things. And with Donald Trump's policies, now again, I don't agree with everybody 100%. And I won't get into all those conversations tonight that I had last night. We spoke about a lot of his policies, DEI, etc. America's coming together in a way that it hasn't come together in a long time. And we're having conversations that we haven't had in a long time. And it's just time to have them so America can heal and we can be solid as a nation, right? One, we should not be divided. And right now, Republicans have control over and Congress, and Donald Trump is doing what he needs to do. And I think that so far he's doing a fantastic job. America thinks that as well. But they're not going to tell you that. They're going to keep putting out fake news and they're going to keep making it seem as if it's more violent under Donald Trump. It's not violent under Donald Trump. It's violent because people have come into this. Not all immigrants. I'm not saying all. But you got to get the crime rate down, and Donald Trump has gotten the crime rate down, and he's going to continue to do so. Okay? All right, you guys. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys. I'm praying for this country. Democrats, get some sleep. You have lots of video games. Good job. All right, you guys. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Haha, Lord, help in you. Daisha, I still love you, boo. I still love you. Daisha's gonna speak her mind. It is what it is. I love her for that, though. I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I was pissed when Trump said, I should have read that before I highlighted it. Okay. All right. I love you guys. I will see you guys on the next one. You guys take care. Feel free to leave me a comment under my comment section if you guys want me to cover something. It's a nice day, Satan. Other than that, be safe. You guys, I'm praying for this country. And we'll see what happens. Bye-bye.